Good evening, Gills fans. Welcome back to another episode of Gills in the Blood TV. I'm flying solo this evening, but have been talking to @OrthodoxStan via Twitter today. You can give him a follow. And the subject of our discussions throughout the day, which led to him asking me if I could produce this video, is obviously the thing that's been on everyone's lips this week, this striker bid that Steve Evans confirmed had gone in back end of last week. We was hopeful of maybe news of whether the bid for this striker from a division above, whether that's Championship or Premier League, had been accepted this past Monday. But as of yet, we are still awaiting with bated breath. But of course, that has sent social media, Twitter, Facebook, fans forums, and general chat around the friendly games that have been played since then into a little bit of overdrive. So that the purpose of this video is to just have a quick rundown of a few names. By no means am I in the know. By no means is Owen in the know. So don't start messaging us asking us for inside information, because we have none. But it's just a run through of half a dozen strikers that could potentially be options based on what we've seen on social media, what we've heard around the grounds, like I say, at the friendlies at Dartford and Folkestone. And the idea is to just create a bit of debate amongst Gills fans. If you could let us know at the end of the video, once you've watched it, if you've not got bored halfway through, reply to us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, the usual avenues. Let us know your views on each player and whether it be a yes, a no, or a maybe, and maybe a brief description of why you're giving them reasons. So the first name, plenty of chat around the grounds at the friendlies this week, is this lad coming up on your screen. Nottingham Forest frontman, 22-year-old Tyler Walker, who enjoyed a prolific 2018-19 at Mansfield on loan, as they just missed out on promotion, losing to Newport County in the League Two playoff semi-finals. Played 52 times in all competitions for the Stags last season and netted 26 times. So, goal every other game, excellent record. As I say, reached the playoffs, narrowly lost out in the semi-final. But from a personal point of view, I would imagine that Tyler Walker was very impressed and very pleased with his output during 2018-19. As I say, only 22 years old, 39 career goals already, and has scored 4 goals for Forest in 21 appearances at Championship level back in 2017-18. So clear pedigree, and did have brief experience of League One back in 16-17. He scored twice in 6 appearances for Port Vale, who went down instead of us at the end of that season, thankfully. But that's another story. So yeah, very young. I would imagine he'd command quite a high fee. So in terms of that, I'm not sure it's going to be possible. But it is a name that's been doing the rounds, that's been spoken about. Seems that Forest won't play him next season, so be interesting to watch that one. In terms of my opinion, it would be a categoric yes if we could get him on board. I think it would be a brilliant signing. A great age, clearly knows where the back of the net is, has played in our division, albeit a little briefly, has had experience in a division above, and was very, very prolific last year. So if he did arrive, he'd arrive full of confidence and potentially could hit the ground running, which would be good. And yeah, so that's number one. So as I say, once you get to the end of the video, let us know your thoughts on Tyler Walker. The second name to be mentioned is a player who is currently plying his trade in the Championship, and that is this man. (28-year-old) Millwall striker Tom Eliot. Big lump, probably in a similar build to recently departed frontman Tom Eaves, but by no means as prolific. But he does hold the ball up well, can play with his back to goal, links play, gets others involved. And yeah, I mean, he was very good for Cambridge early part of his career. Between 2012 and 2015, scored 23 times in 86 appearances, I think it was, at National League and League Two level. Helped them get promoted out of the top division of non-league football, which is now effectively League Three in my opinion, but potentially not quite as strong a few years ago. While we are talking back towards 2012, 2013, that type of time, so a few years back. But then on the back of that form for Cambridge United, he got a move to Wimbledon, played in League 2 and League 1 for them, and scored 19 in 90. So again, not overly prolific. It's probably 1 in 4.5, which isn't a disaster if he's providing assists and getting others involved in link-up play and build-up play and causing problems for centre-halves and creating space for others. On the back of 2 decent seasons with Wimbledon, he got a move to the Championship 2 summers ago with Millwall. Hasn't played probably as much as he'd have liked. He's made 66 appearances in all competitions. I'd imagine most of them are a sub, and he scored 9 times. So probably having to do most of his work from the bench, which isn't ideal for any player. He's a player that I liked in League 1. I think he does a very good job. He knows what he's about. He knows what his limitations are. Would I want him to come in and be our number 1 striker or our first choice striker if we're going to play 2 up top? I'd imagine it could probably work if he played alongside a Brandon Hanlon or a Michael and Jolly, because they're both out and out quick, will play on the shoulder, want to run in behind. Whereas, like I say, Big Tom would probably play with his back to goal, win headers, win flick-ons, and try and get the likes of them 2 players already mentioned into dangerous areas. So in terms of my opinion, I would say potentially if the fee's not too big, or if he was maybe back up to someone else, good solid pro, don't get me wrong, but is he the type of player that would come in and get me off my feet and get me thinking he'd make a massive difference in terms of where we could potentially finish? Maybe not, but could definitely be an option. Number 3 on the list is Josh McGinnis. Apparently it started being circulated on some fan forums this afternoon. I've not seen anything personally, but Owen did message me and say that this name had suddenly started being mentioned. Josh McGinnis, 28 years old, currently at Bolton Wanderers, a Bolton Wanderers side that are in absolute dire straits in terms of a financial situation. So without sounding too horrible and bloodthirsty, maybe there's an opportunity to go in there and offer a fee that isn't as big as maybe you'd normally have to pay in normal circumstances. Was very good in a similar way, I'd imagine, to Tom Eliot that I've already spoke about. He's a good size, he's a big lump. He's probably going to win most things in the air, scores a lot of headers, gets others involved in the play. I sound like I'm repeating myself here. Played 51 times in 2018-19 for a Bolton Wanderers side that got relegated into League 1 and scored 9 goals, so just under 1 in 5. It's an all-right return in a team that's probably struggled all season and hasn't created loads. But again, similarly to Tom Eliot, is it a player that would come in and get me on the edge of my seat? So I'm not so sure, but you have to bear in mind we said that about a Tom Eaves a couple of summers ago, and that turned out all right, didn't it? So he did okay at Charlton between 2016 and 2018, which earned him a move to Bolton. 50, what am I talking about? 23 goals in 108 appearances, few assists as well. That was in all competitions. Yes, again, he could be an option. My only fear is at the same age as Tom Eliot, 28, and if we're having to pay a fee, there's no sell-on value. If it doesn't work out, it could be a costly error in terms of coming in on a 2-year deal, doesn't work, and then he just leaves and we've got nothing out of him. So that's a risk. I think a lot of my opinion on this one would depend on how much we'd have to pay. It's not one that I'd have top of my wish list out of these names that we've mentioned, and a couple more that I'm already going to, I'm still got to talk about. So an interesting one, like I say, come out of the blue a couple of hours ago. Owen messaged me and said that this name had started doing the rounds, so we'll have to sit tight and see if anything happens. Next one coming up is a man that we all know about because he is currently on trial, and that is this man. French-born Mikael Mandron, 24 years old, currently a free agent, so would not command a fee if we did decide to get him in. Has played in the last 2 pre-season friendlies for us, scored last Saturday in the win at Folkestone, and was unlucky by all accounts looking at highlights packages that I have seen on social media against Dartford. I think he hit the post and he hit the bar. Missed another couple of chances as well. Perhaps could have done better with one or two, but good sign that he's only played 2 lots of 45 minutes, I think it is, or 45 and a half hour with us, and he's getting into good areas and getting himself into goal scoring opportunities, which is what you want from any front man that plays for you. 29 career goals in 134 appearances. He's not awful considering he's still only 24. Does provide quite a few assists. Looking at his stats on Transfer Market that I use quite a lot. Had 2 years at Colchester prior to being released at the end of last season. Scored 12 in 99. Had one decent season and one pretty poor season. I think he got 2 last season. The season before he scored 10 in about 45. So, which if you're getting 10 in a season and you're providing 5 to 10 assists as well is a decent return. Means you're indirectly involved in a goal once every other game pretty much. And in 2016-17 he had a very good season at National League level for Eastleigh. Scored 15 in 36 in all competitions, which is a very good return. Not one that would jump off the page at me if you just looked at his statistics on a computer or on a piece of paper, but you'd imagine that if he is on our radar and Steve Evans and Paul Rayner do decide to offer him something, then he'd come in, he'd work hard, he'd put himself about, he'd want to prove a point that he is worth that contract that we've given him if it was to happen. So in terms of my thoughts on it, if nothing's happening with these others, or if we get one in, a so-called star name maybe, then I don't think there'd be any harm in potentially looking at Mandron as a fourth striker to go with the one that came in, plus Mikael and Jolly, plus Brandon Hanlon. Mandron would make it 4, and then we've always got Eliot List that can play as a striker as well if need be, if we did have injuries and suspension. So it's one I'd definitely think about. I'm hoping he does get more minutes on Saturday and Sunday, but obviously that depends on the management team. I know Steve Evans said that it could be dependent on this bid that had gone in for this higher league striker, but obviously that's now dragging on longer than we'd hoped. I think the idea was for Mikael Mandron to have an answer for us, or us to have an answer for him by the middle of this week, but we're now at Thursday. So I think if nothing's happening with the bid, then maybe let's give Mikael some minutes against Charlton and Millwall at the weekend, give him a test against higher level opposition and go from there. But it's not one I'd be entirely against. Whether he'd be first choice, I'm not sure, but certainly an option. So again, let's sit tight and see what happens. Name number 5 is one that seems to have been talked about a little bit quite a bit on social media, and that is this man, who you're going to recognise. Our former Lone Star from the 2015-16 season, when we came so close to the playoffs, is Dominic Samuel, who scored 7 in 25 appearances for us 4 seasons ago. Has a decent record at League One level. I think he's got 18 in 70 odd games at this level, which, bearing in mind he's only 25 now. He spent last season in the Championship, but unfortunately was injured. He only played the first 3 games before rupturing his knee ligament, so he's on the way back from a pretty traumatic injury. But if we can get him fully fit, I think if we were to have a look at him, it could be a very good addition. In terms of other League One spells, he's played for Blackburn and Coventry. Coventry on loan, obviously Blackburn was permanent. And like I say, 18 in 75 appearances is by no means a bad return for a kid who'd scored 30 to them before he was the age of 21, I think, because it's obviously nearly 4 years ago since he was with us, and he's only 25 now, so he'd have been 21 then, 20 the season before when he got 6 in 13, I think it was, for Coventry. So a young lad who knows where the back of the net is, obviously needs to build his fitness up. Potentially, do we have a way in because of, number one, he knows us, he's played for us before, so he knows the club, he knows the ground, knows the fan base. Number 2, do we potentially have a way in because of our links with Blackburn, based on the fact that we sold them Bradley Dack for a very lovely fee just 2 summers ago. So obviously the Blackburn manager and coaching staff and chief executive will be watching this and thinking, well, we need to do Gillingham a favour. tongue is firmly in cheek as I say that. But yeah, I mean, obviously we have a good relationship with Blackburn, I'd imagine. So that could be a way in, hopefully. And yeah, and in terms of Blackburn and his chances, is he going to play there in the Championship? I'm not so sure. They just spent over $5 million on Sam Gallagher from Premier League outfit Southampton. They've got Danny Graham, who's still banging in the goals at that level. They've got Ben Brereton, who they paid a decent enough fee for from Forest last season. They've got Adam Armstrong, who I think plays out wide, but could play through the middle if required. So I think at best, Dominic's probably 4th or 5th choice at the moment. So let's hope that if something could happen and we could put in a bid and it was accepted, obviously we've got a long way to go. Maybe he'd want to go out and play and settle down and stop what's probably been a slightly nomadic career so far, aside from Blackburn. But yeah, my opinion would be, yes, 100%. If we could get it over the line, I think it'd be a brilliant addition to our squad. And it'd be something that I'd be very excited about. The final name, which has just come about in the last few minutes, and this was encouraged by Owen to put in the list as well, is a man who's reportedly just been told he can leave his club in the Championship for a free despite having a year left on his contract, and that is this fella. Jason Cummings, like I say, of Nottingham Forest, 23 years old, spent plenty of time in Scotland, and I know Steve Evans has plucked a couple from up there for us, players that have had experience in the SPL or the Scottish Championship, the likes of Lee Hodson, Matty Willock, Alfie Jones, Mikael and Jolly have come into the club this summer and they've all had experience of playing up north of the border. Jason Cummings was beyond prolific for Hibernian over 3 seasons in the Scottish Championship. He played 130 times, quick bit of maths there, 130 times for Hibernian at that level, and he scored 69 goals, which is a very, very, very tidy return. Have to remember he was signed by Steve Evans at Peterborough last summer on loan from Nottingham Forest, and in fairness to him, he started the season like an absolute express train. Peterborough did their usual, bought loads of players, everyone has them at the top of the market for promotion. They start really well, everyone gets a bit excited, everyone's banging in the goals left, right and centre. Defensively they look solid, and then they do what Peterborough seem to do, and that was the wheels fall off a little bit. But yeah, he scored 8 goals in 29 appearances at League One level last season, so by no means a horrible return. So if you look at his overall career, he's going at a really decent rate, which is promising. I think a fee would be involved because of the fact that he's under 23. I know he's only 23, so he's under 24. So even if he has been told he can leave Forest this summer on a free transfer, I think we'd have to pay some sort of nominal fee because of his age. But yeah, looks like a natural front man. Looks like a player that certainly knows where the back of the net is. Goalposts never move. It's not like he's played at a level that's miles below us. He's probably played at a level that's parallel in Scotland and definitely at Peterborough last season. So yeah, in terms of my opinion, I think it would be a categoric yes. Rumours according to Owen that he can be a bit of a hothead. Potentially that's why Steve Evans signed him last season. We know how passionate and vocal and vociferous Mr. Evans can be on the touchline, and he's talked about toning it down this season. I don't want him to tone it down completely because that would take away from what he is as a manager. But obviously we don't want the touchline bans and that type of thing. And if Jason Cummings is a player that excels when he plays on the edge, then that's absolutely fine with me, as long as that's not turning into red cards and suspensions and him being sat in the stands for the majority of his time. Then obviously all well and good. So yeah, that's 6 names we've got. I will run through them again quickly. We started off with Tyler Walker of Nottingham Forest. We had Tom Eliot, Millwall. Josh McGinnis, Bolton Wanderers. Mikael Mandron, free agent. Dominic Samuel, Blackburn Rovers. And Jason Cummings of Nottingham Forest. Hope you've enjoyed the listen. Hope you've enjoyed the watch. As always, thanks for hanging about and getting to the end. Please comment down below on YouTube. Please keep spreading the word and telling everyone about us. If we could get to 1,200 subscribers by the start of the season, that's optimistic, I know, but it'd be a great effort from all of you wonderful people. Comment on Facebook. Come and join in on Facebook. If you've not found us yet, come and have a look. All Gills fans are welcome. Yeah, check us out on Twitter. Instagram page is there for all to see as well. And until next time, up the Gills.